Alan Atishan. I'm here today with a wild theory that may or may not make sense. So, in Trespasser DLC, you come to a shattered library. This place is suspended between the waking world and the Fade. While here, you come across several books on the knowledge within the theorise. The Codex entries discuss various bits of lore, including the deepest part of the Fade, as well as the exile of the Forbidden Ones. Though we're not here for them today. What really grabs my attention is the hidden lore that you find within the DLC, mixed in with the new lore that we collect during the main game and the DLC Descent. There are several pieces of armour and accessories that belong together and offer bonuses named the Taken Shape set. These items are thus: the Bind that Guides, whose description is: no matter how loosely this belt is tied, after a few steps it warps itself smugly around the waist. Stitching, while fine, is of a strange thin thread that resembles hair and can't be cut even with the sharpest of knives. The Eye that Weeps. This amulet is heavy for its size, and the metal is clammy and sticks jealously to the flesh. The gem in the centre contains a liquid that glows a sluggish red in bright light. Condensation slowly forms on the gem's outer surface, no matter how many times it's wiped clean. The Hand that Cuts. This ring glows unusually warm when slipped onto a finger. It pulses slightly and steadily, as if in time with the wearer's heartbeat. The Skin that Stalks. The leather of this armour gives off a faint, living heat. It is heavier than it looks, but the weight and warmth are somehow comforting. The armour makes a little noise in motion, and after a surprisingly short time wearing it, feels quite natural. There are also two Mage Staff's weapons. While not part of the collection itself, do also fit the theme of these things being part of something alive. They are the Heart of Pride and the Heart of Rage. Now onto the theory. There are also two Mage Staff's weapons. While not part of the collection itself, do also fit the theme of these things being part of something alive. They are the... We know that the Evenaris battled the Titans, and at least one Titan was slain by Mythal, so that they could harvest lyrium. As was discovered in the main game, lyrium is alive. Scary thought. That is how it is able to be corrupted by the Blight. In another area of this place, we entered the Deep Roads. In a hidden area, some more information is given to us about the Titans. What the Evenaris in their greed could unleash would end us all. Let this place be forgotten. Let no one wake its anger. The people must rise before their false gods destroy them all. I'm sure you're all wondering, what does any of this have to do with anything? Well, in a Codex entry talking about Andruil, it mentions how she grew tired of hunting mortal men and beasts, and instead turned to the Forgotten Ones, wicked beings that lived in the abyss. This void caused madness, and plague ate her lands. While this sounds a lot like the Blight, it also mentions something curious. That Andruil made armour of this void. We already know that armour can be made with the blighted lyrium, thanks to Samson, should we pick the mages to work with. It is hinted that the items could be made out of something mortal. Potentially a slave, but alive nonetheless. Perhaps a mixture of the two? Or the slave was forced to consume blighted lyrium, as we have seen happen before? People forced to consume the rad lyrium, only to be harvested themselves. So what if this armour and such is part of what Andruil made? After being best by Mythal and the knowledge of the abyss gone, it wouldn't surprise me if Mythal scattered the pieces so that none could find them again, and put up protections just in case. hence the spirits that fight you. The pendant also mentions a liquid of sluggish red in bright light. Could be blighted lyrium safely contained within? Sounds a lot like the Grey Warden's pendant that keeps dark spawn blood within. After you've joined the ritual and you get one of those little pendant things. The only thing to perhaps argue that this is Andruil's armour is that the person making it signs their notes with stylised Halahead. However, we know very well how much Glennan adored Andruil. It could be this person was a servant of Glennan, who worked the armour for Andruil at Glennan's request. Now, going back to Andruil and her exploration of the void, is the abyss somewhere where the blight first started? And if so, would that mean it was deep underground somewhere? Perhaps a place between the Fade and the waking world? Or a place deep within the Titan's body? I'm sure you're all wondering, what does any of this have to do with anything? Well, in a codex entry talking about Andruil, it mentions how she grew tired of hunting mortal men and beasts, and instead turned to the Forgotten Ones, wicked beings that lived in the abyss. This void caused madness, and plague ate her lands. While this sounds a lot like the Blight, it also mentions something curious. That Andruil, during the Descent DLC, the area within the Titan could suddenly be described as an abyss, or void of sorts. You have sunshine, without sun, you have clouds, and growing fauna. It looks like you're in the sky, but you aren't. That isn't even mentioning the fact that the blight seems to have come from somewhere underground to begin with. First Darkspawn showed up down there, argued over something, then one ate another, and the rest went their separate ways. Or so the accounts mention anyway. So what if the blight is merely the dead Titan's blood turned corrupted over time? The Elven Pantheon killed a Titan, harvested the lyrium, and eventually the lyrium became blighted. Having seen the bad effects, the ancient elven slaves tried to bring the place down as something they feared might awake and bring worse things. So it would make sense for it to be blight related. So you have a potential area for a dead Titan, the way to it forgotten over time, or destroyed, or perhaps only part of the whole. The area we go to through the mirrors could lead to a section uncorrupted by blight, which the Qunari were mining for lyrium. But the corrupt area could have been blocked off, the mirror to access it destroyed, and now the only way there could be deep within the primeval Tig, which would also explain the red lyrium idol down there. To summarise, the Titan was killed by Mythal, its blood mined for lyrium, some of it became blighted at some point, perhaps as the Titan rotted away, sort of like from within, or maybe just the earth, the core itself, its blood, whatever. Andruil made armour with the tainted lyrium, which is the set we find spread out and hidden away with demons to protect them in Trespasser. Andruil started to succumb to the crazed effects of the red lyrium until Mythal was forced to take her armour and knowledge of the void away from her. The weapons could be part of it, as even if Andruil was a hunter, it is known she had a spear of light. Could be a staff with magic. The Elven Pantheon is also just said to be really strong, powerful mages, so there's also that. Seeing the destruction of the Blight, the Elven slaves tried to collapse the way to the Blighted section of the Titan and potentially destroy any mirror leading there. The void could be within the dead Titan, or even another Titan entirely. Or it could be a place between the real world's Titan and the Fade. Perhaps where the Forgotten Ones were banished? Everything is connected somehow. And this is just a theory. A Dragon Age theory. Like dragons they fly, glory upon wings. Like dragons they savage, fearsome, pretty things. Anyway, that's my theory. It's not huge on the lore, or, delving deep into anything. But I noticed the armour sounded quite intriguing, so... And it kind of fits with the lyrium being blighted, although it doesn't necessarily mention that it is made from red lyrium. But who's to say that the method used to create that set is the same one, Samson used? Maybe he had the idea from that armour that Andruil made, but how to make it was kind of lost in time, so he had to start from scratch. But that pendant definitely sounds very similar to the Grey Warden pendant you get in the first game. So, and obviously the whole armour set seems like it's alive, as does the two weapons that I mentioned seem like, there's something alive within or nearby. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. And of course, if you like my content, please do like, subscribe, and do all the YouTubey thingies. I do greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Nosta, and goodbye.